They're asking about the source of the deposit.
Don't worry, I told you I handled it. Just sign the papers.
That is my card.
Sir, I need to verify your identity first. Oh my goodness, what is happening? I wanted to show you this transfer request, ma'am. It's for nearly everything in your savings.
That can't be right. I didn't authorize that.
The moment my son reached across the bank counter for my debit card, the teller pulled it out of his reach. "Sir, please let your mother answer for herself," she said calmly. Ethan's hand tightened around my shoulder. She gets confused when she's nervous. I felt every person in that bank staring at me. Until that morning, I had believed my son was helping me protect my retirement savings. Then the teller turned her screen away from him and leaned closer. "Mrs. Mitchell," she whispered, "did you authorize a transfer of $186,000 into your son's company account?" My mouth went dry. I hadn't authorized anything, and the look on Ethan's face told me he already knew that. Before I tell you what happened next, please like this video and subscribe if you believe trust should never mean surrendering your voice. Tell me in the comments, what would you do if your own child tried to control your money? And let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I always find comfort in knowing who is listening to my story. My name is Heather Mitchell. I'm 67 years old, and until that morning at the bank, I believed I had done one thing right in my life. I believed I had raised a good man. People often ask when a story like mine truly begins. Most think it starts at the bank when the teller stopped my son from taking my debit card. It didn't. It started 25 years earlier on the day I buried my husband. Thomas Mitchell was only 48 when a heart attack took him away without warning. One minute, he was mowing the lawn, waving at our neighbor across the street. The next, he was lying on the grass while paramedics fought to save him. They couldn't. That day changed everything. Our son Ethan was only 16. I still remember the look in his eyes at the funeral. He wasn't crying anymore. He just looked empty. I wrapped my arms around him and whispered, "Don't worry. We'll get through this together." I meant every word. What I didn't know was that promise would shape the rest of my life. I worked as a secretary at Brookfield Elementary School. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Every morning, I arrived before sunrise. Every afternoon, I stayed late filing paperwork or helping teachers prepare for the next day. I picked up extra shifts during the summers. I skipped vacations. I stopped buying new clothes unless the old ones literally fell apart. Every dollar I saved had one purpose. Ethan. If he wanted new baseball cleats, I found the money. If he needed help paying for college, I worked overtime. When his first used pickup truck broke down, I emptied part of my savings because I couldn't bear to watch him struggle. I never thought of it as sacrifice. That's what mothers do. At least that's what I always believed. Years passed faster than I expected. Ethan graduated. He worked hard. He learned construction. Eventually, he started his own company. The day he opened Mitchell Custom Builders, I stood outside his new office with tears in my eyes. Thomas would have been so proud. Not long after Ethan met Lauren. She was beautiful, confident, always perfectly dressed. She spoke with the kind of certainty that made people believe whatever she said. At first, I liked her. She encouraged Ethan to dream bigger. She pushed him to grow his business. When they married, I truly thought my family had survived every storm life could throw at us. Then Chloe was born. She became the brightest part of my retirement dreams. Every Friday afternoon, she came to my house after school. We baked chocolate chip cookies together. She always stole the chocolate chips before they went into the bowl. I'd pretend not to notice. She'd laugh every single time. Those afternoons became my favorite part of the week. When I finally retired after nearly 30 years at the elementary school, I felt peaceful. My mortgage was paid off. My retirement account was healthy. Thomas's life insurance had helped me build a comfortable future. I wasn't wealthy, but I had enough. Enough to live without worrying. Enough to help Chloe with college one day. Enough to believe I could finally rest. That's when Ethan started visiting more often. At first it felt wonderful. He fixed a loose cabinet door. He changed the batteries in my smoke detectors. He shoveled snow from my driveway before I even woke up. Every time he left, he'd hug me and say, "You don't have to do everything yourself anymore, Mom." Those words made my heart warm. After living alone for so many years, it felt nice to let someone help. Then one rainy afternoon, I slipped in my kitchen. I wasn't badly hurt, just a bruised hip and a bruised ego. But Ethan reacted as though I'd nearly died. He rushed to my house. He drove me to urgent care. He insisted on staying overnight in my guest room. The next morning, he looked around my kitchen and sighed. "Mom," he said gently, "you're not 20 anymore?" I laughed. "I noticed." He smiled back. "I'm serious. Let me help more." It sounded reasonable, maybe even loving. Little by little, he started taking things off my shoulders. He offered to pay my utility bills online. He organized my medications. He reminded me about doctor's appointments. He even suggested switching my bank statements to electronic delivery. "It's safer," he told me. "Mail gets stolen all the time." That made sense, so I agreed. Weeks later, I realized I hadn't seen a paper bank statement in months. When I mentioned it, Ethan smiled. "I check everything online for you. Everything looks great." I thanked him. I never asked to see the account myself. Not because I couldn't, because I trusted him. Looking back now, that's the part that hurts the most. Not that I trusted him, but that he knew I trusted him. As the months passed, little things started changing. Whenever I asked about my retirement account, Ethan answered quickly. "Nothing's changed." If I asked how much interest I'd earned, he'd say, "About the same." If I mentioned logging into my account, he'd tell me not to worry about it. I already checked. Sometimes his answers came so fast that I barely finished asking the question. Then one afternoon, I noticed my banking password didn't work. I assumed I'd forgotten it. When I mentioned it, Ethan laughed. "I changed it after that phishing scam on the news." "You changed it. I was protecting you." That sentence should have bothered me. Instead, I apologized. Imagine that. I apologized because my own son had changed the password to my own bank account. I told myself he meant well. Every strange thing had a reasonable explanation. Every uncomfortable feeling was just me overthinking. That's what love can do. It teaches you to explain away the things you should question. A few weeks later, Ethan brought over a stack of papers. He said they were emergency medical forms. "If something ever happens again," he explained, "the hospital won't have to waste time looking for permission." I barely looked at them. He flipped each page toward me. "Sign here. Initial here. One more." The whole thing took less than 3 minutes. I remember joking, "I hope I never need any of this." He smiled. "So do I." Then he gathered every page before I could look again. I watched him slide them neatly into his leather briefcase. Something about that moment stayed with me. I couldn't explain why. It wasn't fear. It was more like a tiny voice whispering that I should have read what I signed. I ignored that voice. After all, Ethan was my son, the little boy I once held through nightmares, the teenager I promised I would never abandon, the man I believed would always protect me the way I had protected him. I had no idea that those few signatures would become one of the biggest mistakes of my life. And I certainly had no idea that the son I trusted with everything had already begun taking control of far more than I ever imagined. About 3 weeks before everything fell apart at the bank, Ethan showed up at my house carrying a ladder. He didn't even come inside first. He looked up at my roof, frowned, and slowly shook his head. My stomach tightened. "What's wrong?" I asked. He climbed down the ladder without answering right away. Finally, he looked at me and sighed. "Mom, this is worse than I thought." Those words hit me harder than they should have. I looked up at the roof. From where I stood, everything looked normal. "I don't see anything." "You wouldn't," he replied. "The damage is underneath." He walked around the house, pointing toward places I couldn't understand. "The decking is weak. The flashing is failing. If we get one heavy storm, you could have water pouring into the attic." I felt my heart begin to race. "This sounds expensive." He rubbed the back of his neck. "I wish I had better news." "How much?" He hesitated just long enough to make me nervous. "Probably around 40,000. I stared at him. $40,000. "I know." Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Then he placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Mom, don't panic. My company can do the work." I immediately felt relieved. If Ethan handled it himself, maybe it wouldn't cost as much. "I have insurance." He slowly shook his head. "I already checked." "You checked." "They probably won't cover it." "Why not?" "They'll say it's years of wear and tear." I sighed. That house had been my home for over 35 years. Thomas and I painted every room together. We planted the maple tree in the front yard the year Ethan started kindergarten. The thought of losing that house terrified me. Ethan seemed to notice. "I'm not going to let anything happen to you." Those words sounded exactly like the son I believed I knew. He pulled out his phone. "If we order materials now, we can avoid the summer price increase." "I need to think." "Mom, I just need a little time." He nodded, but I could see disappointment in his eyes. That evening, Lauren stopped by unexpectedly. She carried a pie. She hugged me tightly. Then she sat across from me at the kitchen table. "Ethan told me about the roof." I nodded. "I'm still trying to process everything." Lauren reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I know it's scary." Her voice was calm, gentle, almost comforting. Then it slowly changed. "But honestly, Heather, this isn't really about money anymore." "What do you mean? What if the roof collapses?" "It won't." "How do you know?" I looked down at my coffee. "I don't." She leaned closer. "You have Chloe to think about." That caught my attention immediately. "What do you mean? What if she's visiting one weekend and something happens?" My chest tightened. Lauren continued. "You've always put family first." "I've tried." "Then let Ethan take care of this." I nodded slowly. She smiled. "I knew you'd understand." For a moment, I almost agreed. Then she said something that stayed with me. "Sometimes older people don't realize how dangerous these situations are." Older people, not Heather, not Mom. Older people. It sounded strangely cold, as though I had become part of a different group. A group that couldn't make decisions anymore. I tried to ignore the feeling. A few days later, Chloe came over after school. We baked cookies together like we always did. She was unusually quiet. Finally, she asked, "Grandma?" "Yes, is Dad fixing your roof?" "I think so." She frowned. "It looks fine." I laughed. "You're not exactly a roofing expert." "I know." She hesitated. "But Dad doesn't seem okay." "What do you mean?" "I hear him yelling on the phone." About work. She nodded. He keeps saying investors. Investors. And something about deadlines. I smiled gently. Running a business is stressful. She looked down at the cookie dough. I've never heard him sound like that before. I didn't know what to say. I changed the subject. But after Chloe left, her words stayed with me. That weekend, Ethan invited me to lunch. Afterward, he drove me home in his pickup truck. Halfway there, his phone rang. He answered, using Bluetooth. I'll call you back, he snapped. His voice startled me. I'd rarely heard him lose his temper. He ended the call so quickly that he accidentally knocked his leather portfolio onto the passenger side floor. A large envelope slid out. Before I could help him pick it up, I noticed bright red letters across the front. Final notice. It was impossible to miss. Ethan grabbed it immediately. What was that? I asked. Oh, nothing. It didn't look like nothing. It's just accounting. You seemed upset. He forced a smile. You know paperwork. But he didn't look relaxed. His knuckles were white as he gripped the steering wheel. For the rest of the drive, he barely spoke. That wasn't like Ethan. He usually filled every silence. When we arrived at my house, he carried the portfolio carefully against his chest, almost protectively. That image stayed with me. So did the envelope. That night, I couldn't sleep. $40,000. Final notice. Investors. Deadlines. The pieces didn't fit together. The next morning, Ethan called before breakfast. Did you think about the roof? A little. We really shouldn't wait. I'd like to see the inspection report. There was silence. What inspection report? The one you used. I don't have one. You just inspected it yourself. I know. But I'd feel better with something in writing. His tone changed instantly. Mom, don't you trust me? The question caught me off guard. Of course I do. Then why do you need another opinion? I didn't say another opinion. You don't believe me. That's not true. His voice grew sharper. I've been trying to help you. I know. I'm giving up my own time. I appreciate that. And now you're questioning my integrity. I felt guilty immediately. I'm sorry. He didn't answer. Instead, he said quietly, if Dad were alive, he'd trust me. The sentence hit like a punch. Thomas had been gone for 25 years. Hearing Ethan use his father's memory against me made my chest ache. I'm not trying to upset you. I know. His voice softened again. I just don't want something terrible to happen to you. After we hung up, I stood in my kitchen for several minutes. Something wasn't right. Every conversation seemed to end the same way. I asked a simple question. Somehow, I ended up apologizing. That afternoon, I walked outside and stared at my roof for almost 10 minutes. It looked exactly the way it had looked for years. No missing shingles, no sagging, no water stains on the ceiling inside. Nothing. Maybe Ethan saw damage I couldn't, or maybe, for the first time in my life, I wondered if my own son wanted me to believe something that wasn't true. It was only a thought, a tiny one. But once that thought entered my mind, it refused to leave. The next morning, I made a decision I never thought I would make. I decided not to trust my son. Not completely. That realization alone made me feel like a terrible mother. But something inside me refused to stay quiet. So instead of calling Ethan back, I picked up the phone and called my insurance company. I kept my voice steady. Hello, I'd like to check the status of a roof claim. The woman on the other end paused. Of course, Mom. Can I have your policy number? I gave it to her. I waited. My heart pounded louder with every second. Then she spoke again. I'm sorry, Mrs. Mitchell, but I don't see any claim filed on your property. I froze. No claim. No, ma'am. Are you sure? I'm looking at your full history. There hasn't been any roof-related claims submitted. I thanked her and hung up. For a long moment, I just stood there. Ethan had told me he already checked. He had said the insurance wouldn't cover it. But he never contacted them, which meant he had either assumed the answer or he had lied. I didn't want to believe the second option. So I told myself maybe he just hadn't had time yet. Maybe he planned to call later. Maybe I was overreacting. But the small voice in my head had grown louder. That afternoon, I did something else I never imagined doing. I called a roofing company, a local one, not connected to Ethan. Hi, I said, trying to sound casual. I'd like someone to inspect my roof. 2 days later, a man named Carl showed up. He looked like someone who had spent his entire life on ladders. Weathered face, calloused hands, straightforward tone. He climbed onto my roof while I stood in the yard watching. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Finally, he climbed down. I held my breath. Well, I asked. He wiped his hands on his jeans. It's not perfect. My stomach dropped, but it's nowhere near what you're describing. What do you mean, you've got some minor wear? A few shingles could be replaced. I waited for the number. Maybe 1,500, 2,000 at most. I blinked. That's it. That's it. I stared at him. No structural damage, no knee that I can see, no risk of collapse. I waited for the number. Maybe 1,500, 2,000 at most. I blinked. That's it. That's it. I stared at him. No structural damage, none that I can see, no risk of collapse. He almost laughed. No, Mom. This roof has plenty of life left. For a moment, I couldn't speak. $40,000. $2,000. The gap between those numbers felt like a cliff opening beneath my feet. Are you sure? I asked again. I've been doing this 30 years. He looked me directly in the eyes. If this were my house, I wouldn't replace the roof. I thanked him and paid for the inspection. After he left, I sat at my kitchen table for a long time. The house was quiet. Too quiet. My hands trembled slightly. Ethan had told me the roof was dangerous, urgent, expensive. None of it was true. I tried to find a reasonable explanation. Maybe he misjudged. Maybe he panicked. Maybe. But the truth kept pushing through. He didn't just get it wrong. He exaggerated. By tens of thousands of dollars. That wasn't a mistake. That was something else. I didn't have time to fully process it. Because an hour later, Ethan showed up. He didn't knock. He walked in like he always did. Hey, Mom. Then he stopped. Carl's ladder was still leaning against the house. His expression changed instantly. Who was here? I stood slowly. A roofing inspector. His face hardened. You hired someone else. I wanted a second opinion. You didn't trust me? That's not what I said. His voice rose. That's exactly what you said. I tried to stay calm. He said the damage is minor. Of course he did. What does that mean? You didn't trust me? That's not what I said. His voice rose. That's exactly what you said. I tried to stay calm. He said the damage is minor. Of course he did. What does that mean? He wants your business. He's not going to tell you the truth. He said it would cost about $2,000. Ethan let out a sharp laugh. $2,000? Yes. That's ridiculous. Is it? He stepped closer. You embarrassed me. I wasn't trying to. You went behind my back. It's my house, Ethan. The words came out before I could stop them. We both froze. It was the first time I had said something like that to him. His eyes narrowed. I was trying to help you, I know. Do you? He looked around the kitchen, as if searching for something to hold on to. Then he shook his head. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Then explain it to me. I don't have time for this. The tension filled the room like thick smoke. Finally, he turned toward the door. Do whatever you want. He left without another word. The silence he left behind felt heavier than the argument. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying everything. The roof, the inspection, the anger, the way he said I embarrassed him. Something had shifted. The next evening, Ethan came back. This time, he knocked. When I opened the door, his expression was completely different. Soft, tired, regretful. I'm sorry, he said quietly. The anger from the day before seemed to have disappeared. I shouldn't have raised my voice. I hesitated. It's okay. No, it's not. He stepped inside. I've just been under a lot of pressure. I nodded. I figured. He sighed and sat down at the kitchen table. I overreacted. I sat across from him. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. I know. He looked at me with the same expression he had as a teenager when he needed comfort. I'm trying to take care of you. Those words still worked on me. They always had. I appreciate that. I just don't want anything to happen to you. I felt my resistance soften. Then he reached into his bag. I actually brought something I wanted to show you. He placed a stack of documents on the table. What is this, a temporary loan agreement? I frowned. A loan for the business? My heart sank. I thought this was about the roof. It is. How? I can bundle the project with another development I'm working on. I didn't understand. Ethan just explained it simply. He leaned forward. I need a short-term loan. How much? He hesitated. About 40,000. The same number? The same urgency? This isn't about the roof, is it? It's all connected? Connected how I'll pay you back. That's not what I asked. He ran his hand through his hair. Mom, please. I looked down at the documents. Why is my house listed here? It's just collateral. Collateral, it's standard. It says you can place a lien on my property. That's just legal language. I felt a cold wave of fear move through me. If I sign this, what happens? If you can't pay me back? He didn't answer immediately. Ethan, it won't come to that. That's not an answer. He reached for my hand. I would never let you lose your house. I pulled my hand back. I need time to think. His expression tightened. You don't trust me. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. The room fell silent again, but this time something inside me stayed firm. I didn't pick up the pen. I didn't sign. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about a roof anymore. It was about something much bigger. Something I didn't fully understand yet, but I could feel it, and it terrified me. After Ethan left that night, I didn't touch the documents. I didn't throw them away either. I just sat there staring at them as if they might explain themselves if I waited long enough. They didn't, so I did something I should have done weeks earlier. I reached out for help. The next morning, I called my friend Susan Reynolds. We had worked together at Brookfield Elementary for over 20 years. If there was anyone who knew me well enough to tell me the truth, it was her. Hey, Heather, she said warmly. Everything okay? I hesitated. Then I said the words I never thought I'd say. I think something is wrong with Ethan. There was a pause. What do you mean? I don't know how to explain it, then start anywhere. So I did. I told her about the roof, the $40,000, the inspection, the argument, the documents. I didn't leave anything out. When I finished, Susan didn't speak right away. Then she said quietly, "You need someone to look at those papers." I was afraid you'd say that. Do you have them? Yes. Bring them to me. Within an hour, I was sitting at her kitchen table, the same table where we had shared countless cups of coffee over the years. This time felt different, heavier, more serious. Susan spread the documents out carefully. She adjusted her glasses. Then she started reading, page by page, line by line. The room was silent except for the soft sound of paper turning. Finally, she looked up. "This isn't just a loan." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" She tapped one section with her finger. "This is a home equity agreement." "I don't understand." "It means your house is collateral." "I know he said that." "No, Heather. Not just collateral." She flipped another page. "If he defaults, they can place a lien on your property." My hands began to shake. That's what he said, too. Did he explain what that really means? No. It means you could lose your house. The words hit harder than anything Ethan had said. Lose my house? Yes. I felt like the air had been pulled out of the room. That doesn't make sense. It does if he needs access to cash quickly. I stared at the papers. This isn't about a roof? No. Then what is it about? Susan didn't answer. Instead, she reached for her phone. Calling David. David, my brother. The lawyer. Yes. I shook my head. That's not necessary. It is. I don't want to make this bigger than it is. She looked at me directly. It already is bigger than you think. 20 minutes later, David Reynolds walked into the kitchen. He was older now, grayer, but his presence still carried the same quiet authority I remembered. Hey, Heather, he said kindly. Hi, David. Susan handed him the documents. Take a look. He didn't say much as he read, but I noticed the way his expression slowly changed, from neutral to concerned, then finally to something much more serious. He set the papers down carefully. Did you sign any of this? No, not even one page. I don't think so. He pointed to a section near the back. This looks like your signature. I leaned closer. My heart dropped. It did look like my signature, but something about it felt off. I didn't sign that. Are you sure? Yes. Think carefully. I closed my eyes, and then I remembered the stack of papers Ethan had brought months ago. The medical forms. Wait, what is it? Susan asked. I did sign something. What kind of something? He said it was for medical emergencies. David leaned forward. How many pages? I don't know. A lot. Did you read them? No. Did he flip through them quickly? Yes. Did he point where to sign yes? David and Susan exchanged a look. My stomach turned. Are you saying David spoke carefully? I'm saying it's possible those papers weren't what he told you they were? The room felt like it was spinning. You think he tricked me into signing financial documents? I think we need to consider that possibility. I pressed my hands against the table. No, Ethan wouldn't do that. Susan reached for my arm. Heather, no. I shook my head. Hez my son. David didn't argue. He simply said, then we verify. How first we protect you. What does that mean? You call your bank? My heart skipped. Why? Because if he has access to your accounts, we need to stop it immediately. I felt a wave of panic rise. What if it's already too late? Then we act fast. I looked down at the documents again. For the first time, I saw them clearly, not as something confusing, but as something dangerous. I feel so stupid. Susan squeezed my hand. You're not stupid. I signed something without reading it. You trusted your son? That's the same thing? No, she said firmly. It's not. David nodded. The responsibility is on the person who misled you. I wanted to believe that, but it was hard. Very hard. My phone rang suddenly. I looked at the screen. Ethan. My heart started pounding again. Answer it, Susan whispered. I hesitated. Then I picked up. Hi, Mom. His voice sounded calm, almost cheerful. Hi. Did you look at the documents I'm still thinking? We really shouldn't wait. I know. Did you sign anything yet? No. There was a brief pause. Why not? I told you. I need time. Time for what? I swallowed. To understand everything. You don't need to understand everything. That sentence made my chest tighten. Yes, I do. Mom. His tone changed slightly. I do. Mom. His tone changed slightly. More controlled, more careful. I'm trying to help you. I closed my eyes. I know? Then trust me. The same words. Again. Always the same words. I do trust you. Then sign the papers. I opened my eyes, and for the first time, more controlled, more careful. I'm trying to help you. I closed my eyes. I know. Then trust me. The same words. Again. Always the same words. I do trust you. Then sign the papers. I opened my eyes, and for the first time, I didn't immediately give in. I'm going to talk to the bank first. Silence. Then his voice came back sharper. Why, I just want to make sure everything is set up correctly. You don't need to do that. I think I do. Another pause. Longer this time. Then he said slowly, I already scheduled an appointment. My heart stopped. What appointment? At the bank. When tomorrow morning? I looked at Susan and David. Both of them were watching me closely. Why didn't you tell me I just did? What is the appointment for? To update your account protections. The words sounded reasonable, but something about them felt wrong. Deeply wrong. Alpa them felt wrong. Deeply wrong. Il P, ick you up at 9, he continued. I swallowed. Okay. After I hung up, the room was completely silent. Susan spoke first. This is it. David nodded. He's moving fast. I felt my hands tremble again. What do I do, ick you up at 9? He continued. I swallowed. Okay. After I hung up, the room was completely silent. Susan spoke first. This is it. David nodded. He's moving fast. I felt my hands tremble again. What do I do? David looked at me directly. You go to that appointment, and you don't let him speak for you. I took a deep breath. For the first time, I understood something clearly. Tomorrow was going to change everything. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those documents. My house, my savings, Ethan's voice telling me to trust him. I sat on the edge of my bed and whispered to myself, just stay calm. At exactly 8:57 a.m., Ethan's truck pulled into my driveway. He was always punctual. I took a deep breath and walked outside. He stepped out of the truck, smiling. Morning, Mom? Morning. He opened the passenger door for me. The gesture felt familiar, comforting, but something about it also felt rehearsed. I climbed in. The drive to the bank was quiet at first. Then Ethan turned on the radio. A soft country song filled the car. He tapped the steering wheel lightly. You remember this one, he asked? I nodded. Your dad used to play it all the time. He smiled. Yeah, he did. For a moment, everything felt normal again, almost peaceful. Then Ethan spoke again. After today, you won't have to worry about anything. I looked at him. What do you mean? I mean your accounts, your bills, all of it. I'll take care of everything. That's already what you've been doing. I know. But this will make it official. Official. That word stayed with me. What exactly are we doing at the bank? He kept his eyes on the road. Just updating your account protections. That's all. Yeah. He said it too quickly. I turned to the window and watched the houses pass by. My reflection stared back at me. For the first time, I didn't recognize the woman looking back. She looked uncertain. Smaller than I remembered. When we pulled into the bank parking lot, my hands felt cold. Ethan parked close to the entrance. Ready? He asked. I nodded. We walked inside together. The air smelled faintly of carpet cleaner and paper. It was a small branch. Familiar. I had been coming there for years. Megan was behind the counter. She recognized me immediately. Good morning, Mrs. Mitchell. Good morning. Her eyes moved briefly to Ethan. Hi, she said politely. Hi, he replied. We have an appointment, Ethan added quickly. Megan typed something into her computer. Yes, I see that. She looked back at me. Can I see your debit card, please? I reached into my purse. My fingers hesitated for just a second before pulling it out. I handed it over. That's when everything changed. Ethan's hand moved suddenly, fast, too fast. I'll take that, he said. He reached across the counter toward Megan, but she reacted even faster. She pulled the card back, calmly, firmly. No, sir, she said. Her voice was steady. Mrs. Mitchell needs to complete this step herself. Ethan's smile didn't disappear, but it tightened. She gets overwhelmed, he said lightly. I understand, Megan replied. But I still need to hear from her directly. She turned her attention back to me. Mrs. Mitchell, can you confirm your address for me? I opened my mouth, but before I could speak, Ethan answered. She lives at Megan raised her hand slightly. Sir, I need her to answer. The room felt suddenly quiet. Too quiet. I cleared my throat. Then I gave my address. Megan nodded. Thank you. She typed again. Then she looked at her screen. Her expression changed. Just slightly. But I noticed. Mrs. Mitchell, she said slowly. I need to ask you something important. My heart started pounding. What is it? Did you authorize a transfer this morning? A transfer? Yes. To where? She turned the screen slightly so only I could see it. My breath caught. The number stared back at me. $186,000. My retirement savings. All of it, I whispered. Almost all of it. To where she lowered her voice. To a business account under Mitchell Custom Builders. My chest tightened. That's Ethan's company? Yes. I shook my head. No, I didn't authorize anything. To a business account under Mitchell Custom Builders. My chest tightened. That's Ethan's company? Yes. I shook my head. No company? Yes. I shook my head. No, I didn't authorize anything. Before Megan could respond, Ethan stepped closer. She must have forgotten, he said quickly. My head snapped toward him. I didn't forget. No, I didn't authorize anything. Before Megan could respond, Ethan stepped closer. She must have forgotten, he said quickly. My head snapped toward him. I didn't forget. Mom, he said gently. We talked about this last night. No, we didn't. His smile faded slightly. You were tired. I remember what we talked about. You said you wanted to help. I never said that. The tension rose instantly. Ethan turned back to Megan. She's been having some memory issues. My stomach dropped. What? It's nothing serious, he continued as if I wasn't even there. Just some confusion under stress. I'm not confused, I said firmly. Megan didn't look at Ethan. She kept her eyes on me. Mrs. Mitchell, did you personally approve this transfer? No. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. Ethan's voice sharpened. Wait a second. Megan didn't stop. I'm placing a hold on the transaction. You can't do that, Ethan said. Yes, I can, she replied calmly. He stepped closer. This is my mother's account. Megan finally looked at him, and she just told me she did not authorize this transfer. The silence that followed felt heavy. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then suddenly he changed his tone again, softer, more controlled. Mom, he said, turning to me, you're making this harder than it needs to be. I'm telling the truth. He leaned closer. You're tired. That's all. I'm not tired. You don't remember everything. I remember this. His voice dropped lower. You agreed to help me. I felt something shift inside me. Not fear, not confusion. Clarity. No, I said quietly. I didn't. Megan's voice cut through the tension. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm going to ask you one more time. I looked at her, then at the screen, then at my son, and I said the words that changed everything. I did not authorize this transfer. Megan nodded once, then she transfer. Megan nodded once, then she pressed a button under the counter. I didn't see what it did, but I felt the moment, like a door closing. Ethan noticed it too. What did you just do? He asked. Megan's voice remained calm. I've requested a manager to assist us, pressed a button under the counter. I didn't see what it did, but I felt the moment, like a door closing. Ethan noticed it too. What did you just do? He asked. Megan's voice remained calm. I've requested a manager to assist us. Ethan stepped back slightly. For the first time since we walked in, he looked uncertain. And in that moment, I realized something I had been avoiding. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't stress. This wasn't about a roof. My son had tried to take my life savings, and he had expected me not to stop him, but to trust him while he did it. The moment Megan pressed that button, everything in the room shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but I felt it, like something invisible had just been set into motion. Ethan felt it too. I could see it in his eyes. What did you just do? He asked, again his voice tighter now. I've asked my manager to come assist, Megan said calmly. This isn't necessary, Ethan replied quickly. We can handle this ourselves. Megan didn't respond to him. She looked at me. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm going to need you to stay right here with me. I nodded. My legs felt weak, but I stayed standing. Ethan took a step closer to me. Mom, let's go somewhere private. No. The word came out before I could second guess it. His head snapped toward me. What am staying here? This is embarrassing. I don't care. His voice dropped lower. You should. I shook my head. I don't. That seemed to unsettle him more than anything else. For years I had cared about his feelings, his stress, his reputation. Now for the first time, I didn't. A man in a suit approached from the back office. Good morning, he said. I'm the branch manager. My name is Mr. Collins. Megan nodded toward him. Mr. Collins, this is Mrs. Mitchell. He gave me a polite smile. How can I help? Before I could answer, Ethan stepped forward. There's been a misunderstanding. Mr. Collins looked at him briefly. Then back at me. Mrs. Mitchell, I swallowed. There was a transfer request on my account. Yes, he said. I see that. I didn't authorize it. Mr. Collins nodded slowly. And this account belongs solely to you? Yes. No joint owner. No. He typed something into his tablet. Then we'll need to clarify how this request was submitted. Ethan exhaled sharply. I already explained. She approved it last night. I did not, I said firmly. He turned toward me again. Mom, Stoppy? He turned toward me again. Mom, stop calling me that like it changes the truth. The words surprised even me. But once they were out, I didn't take them back. Mr. Collins raised a hand gently. Let's keep this calm. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. She forgets things. I don't forget things like this. You do? No, yes you do. His voice was rising again. People in the bank were starting to look, whisper, watch. I felt the familiar pressure, the urge to back down, to smooth things over, to make it easier. But something inside me refused to bend this time. I remember exactly what I said last night. I told him. And I never agreed to this. Megan spoke quietly. Mr. Collins, there's something else. He looked at her. What is it? She turned her screen toward him. I checked the access logs. Ethan stiffened. What logs? Mr. Collins leaned in. What did you find? Megan pointed. This transfer request was submitted online at 8:12 a.m. He nodded. And the IP address traces back to a residential network. Which address? She clicked again. Then read it aloud. Ethan's home address. The room went completely silent. Mr. Collins looked up slowly. Mrs. Mitchell, were you at your son's home this morning? No. Where were you? At my house. Ethan spoke quickly. I logged in for her. Mr. Collins turned toward him. Do you have authorized access to her account? Yes. Under what authority? At my house. Ethan spoke quickly. I logged in for her. Mr. Collins turned toward him. Do you have authorized access to her account? Yes. Under what authority? Ethan hesitated. Power of attorney. Mr. Collins looked at Megan. She shook her head. We don't have a verified power of attorney on file. Ethan's voice sharpened. I submitted it. It was reviewed, Megan said, but it couldn't be validated. That's ridiculous. Sir, Mr. Collins said firmly, we're going to need documentation. Ethan reached into his bag. He pulled out a set of papers, the same kind I had seen before. He handed them over. Here. Mr. Collins took them. He flipped through the pages carefully. Then he paused. Where was this notarized? Ethan pointed to a section. Right there. Mr. Collins studied it. Do you have the notary contact "it's" on the document? Mr. Collins nodded slowly. Well, need to verify that. Ethan exhaled in frustration. This is taking too long. Megan spoke again. There's one more thing. Mr. Collins looked at her. What is it? She tapped the screen, N. There were multiple attempts to increase the transfer limit over the past few days. My heart dropped. Multiple attempts. Yes. How many? 6. I turned toward Ethan. You tried 6 times. He didn't answer. Ethan. He looked away. I was just trying to make it go through. My stomach twisted. Without telling me I was going to tell you. When after it was done, that was it. That was the moment everything became clear. You weren't asking me, I said slowly. You were planning to tell me after. He stepped closer again. I knew you'd say no. Then why do it? Because I need the money. The words hung in the air, raw, unfiltered, finally honest, for what I asked. He didn't answer. Ethan, for what his jaw tightened. It doesn't matter. It does. I'll pay you back. That's not the point. It should be. It's not your money. I'm your son. That sentence hit harder than anything else. I know you are. Then why are you acting like this? Because you're acting like I don't have a choice. He stared at me. For a moment, I saw something I had never seen before. Not anger, not frustration. Entitlement. You always help me, he said. I have. Then help me now. This isn't help. What is it then? I looked at him. At the man I raised, the boy I protected, the person standing in front of me now. This is you taking something that isn't yours. The silence that followed felt different. He didn't argue immediately. He didn't interrupt. He just stared at me. Then he said quietly, "You don't understand." "Then make me understand." He shook his head. "I can't." Mr. Collins stepped forward. "I'm going to have to ask you to step aside, sir." Ethan didn't move. Now, after a long moment, Ethan took a step back, then another. He moved away from the counter. For the first time since we walked in, he wasn't controlling the situation anymore. And I realized something else. This wasn't just about stopping a transaction. This was about reclaiming something I had been slowly losing for months. My voice. And now that I had it back, I wasn't going to give it up again. Ethan stepped back, but he didn't leave. He moved a few feet away from the counter, standing near the waiting chairs, arms crossed tightly across his chest. Watching. Waiting. Eye across his chest. Watching. Waiting. I could feel his eyes on me, but for the first time, I didn't turn toward him. Megan stayed beside me, calm, focused. Mr. Collins continued reviewing the account on his tablet. Mrs. Mitchell could feel his eyes on me, but for the first time, I didn't turn toward him. Megan stayed beside me, calm, focused. Mr. Collins continued reviewing the account on his tablet. "Mrs. Mitchell?" he said. "The transfer has been frozen." I exhaled slowly. "So the money hasn't left my account?" "No, ma'am." That single sentence felt like a lifeline. For a moment, I didn't realize how close I had come to losing everything. Megan added quietly, "We flagged the account a few days ago." I looked at her. "You did?" She nodded. "There were repeated attempts to raise your transfer limit." My stomach tightened again. From him, she didn't answer directly, but she didn't need to. Mr. Collins continued. "Without that flag, the transfer might have gone through." I closed my eyes briefly. If that had happened, if I hadn't spoken up, if Megan hadn't paid attention, everything would have been gone. All of it. My retirement, my safety, my future. "Thank you," I whispered. Megan gave me a small, reassuring nod. "You're welcome." If Megan hadn't paid attention, everything would have been gone. All of it. My retirement, my safety, my future. "Thank you," I whispered. Megan gave me "thank you," I whispered. Megan gave me a small, reassuring nod. "You're welcome." At that moment, 2 police officers walked into the bank. My heart skipped. Ethan noticed them immediately. He straightened. "What is this?" A small, reassuring nod. "You're welcome." At that moment, 2 police officers walked into the bank. My heart skipped. Ethan noticed them immediately. He straightened. "What is this?" he asked sharply. Mr. Collins turned toward him. "Standard procedure when there's a suspected unauthorized transaction of this size. This is a family matter." One of the officers stepped forward. "Sir, we just need to ask a few questions." Ethan let out a frustrated breath. "This is ridiculous." The officer didn't react. "Can you step over here with us, please?" Ethan hesitated, then looked at me. For a split second, I saw something in his expression. Not anger, not confidence. Fear. Real fear. But it disappeared just as quickly. "Fine," he said. He walked with the officers toward a side area. I watched him go. My chest felt tight, not because I was afraid of him anymore, but because I was realizing something I never wanted to face. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't stress. This was something serious. Very serious. Megan leaned closer to me. "Are you okay?" I nodded. "I think so. You did the right thing. I wasn't sure yet. Part of me still felt like I had betrayed my own son. Then Mr. Collins spoke again. There's something else you should know. I looked at him. What is it? The transfer request wasn't the first activity we were concerned about. What do you mean? He tapped the screen again. There were several smaller transactions attempted earlier this week. My heart sank. How many for? Were they successful? No. They were blocked due to security limits. I felt dizzy. He was trying before today. Yes. The realization hit harder than anything else. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't sudden. It was planned. Carefully. Repeatedly. Deliberately. I looked toward the side of the room where Ethan stood with the officers. He was talking quickly now, explaining, gesturing, trying to control the situation again. For the first time in my life, I didn't believe him. Megan spoke again, her voice softer. There's more. I turned back to her. What else? The system logs show the attempts came from the same location. My house. She shook her head. No, I already knew the answer. His house, I whispered. She nodded. At that exact moment, the front door of the bank opened again. I turned instinctively and saw Chloe. She rushed inside, breathing heavily, her eyes scanning the room. Grandma? My heart jumped. Chloe. She ran straight toward me. Are you okay? I'm fine, honey. What's going on? Before I could answer, she looked over and saw Ethan with the police. Her face changed instantly. Fear, confusion, then something else. Understanding. I knew it, she said quietly. I stared at her. What do you mean? She swallowed hard. I heard of them last night. Who, Dad and Mom, then something else. Understanding. I knew it, she said quietly. I stared at her. What do you mean? She swallowed hard. I heard them last night. Who, Dad and Mom. My chest tightened. What did you hear? They were arguing. About what? She looked down for a moment, then back up at me. About you. My hands went cold. What did they say? Chloe hesitated. Then she reached into her backpack. I didn't know what to do, she said softly. I thought maybe I was wrong. What is it? I asked. She pulled out her phone. I recorded it. My heart stopped. You recorded. My heart stopped. You recorded them. I was scared. She handed me the phone. My fingers trembled as I pressed play. At first, it was just voices, muffled, then clearer. Lauren's voice. Sharp. If you don't find this, they're going to find out. Ed them. I was scared. She handed me the phone. My fingers trembled as I pressed play. At first, it was just voices, muffled, then clearer. Lauren's voice. Sharp. If you don't fix this, they're going to find out. Ethan's voice followed. I know. You said you had a solution. I do. What Mom's account? There was silence. Then Lauren again. That's not enough. It is if I move it all. All? Yes. And what happens when she notices? She won't. How do you know? Because she trusts me. The words felt like a knife. Then Ethan continued. It'll replace the money once the project closes. And if it doesn't, it will. You're gambling everything. No, he said quietly. I'm fixing it. The recording ended. The room around me felt distant, unreal. I looked at Chloe. How long have you had this? Since last night. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know if it was real. I pulled her into a hug. You did the right thing. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't want Dad to get in trouble. I held her tighter. This isn't your fault. Across the room, Ethan saw us. He knew. He could tell. Something had changed. The officers noticed it too. One of them stepped closer to him. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us. Ethan shook his head. This is a misunderstanding. Sir? He looked at me one last time, and this time there was no confidence left. No control. Just desperate confidence left. No control. Just desperate ion. Mom, please. The words sounded different now. Not warm, not comforting, just empty. I looked at him, at the man who had raised his voice at me, lied to me, tried to take everything I had, and for the first time in my life, yawn. Mom, please. The words sounded different now. Not warm, not comforting, just empty. I looked at him, at the man who had raised his voice at me, lied to me, tried to take everything I had, and for the first time in my life, I didn't move toward him. I didn't try to fix it. I didn't try to protect him. I just stood there, holding Chloe's hand, and let the truth stand on its own, because the truth didn't need my help anymore. It had already been heard. After the police took Ethan out of the bank, everything went quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that follows something you can't take back. Chloe stayed close to me, her hand wrapped tightly around mine. Grandma, is Dad going to jail? She whispered. I didn't answer right away, because the truth was, I didn't know. I don't know yet, I said softly. Mr. Collins stepped forward again. Mrs. Mitchell will need you to come back to my office for a few minutes. I nodded. Of course. Megan gave me a reassuring look. You're safe here, safe. That word felt strange, like something I hadn't felt in a long time without realizing it. Chloe followed me into the office. Mr. Collins closed the door behind us. Please have a seat. I sat down slowly. Chloe stayed beside me. Mr. Collins took a deep breath. I want to go over what we know so far. I nodded. He looked at his notes. There were multiple unauthorized attempts to access your funds. Yes, all originating from the same location. My son's house? Yes. He paused. And this morning's transfer request was for $186,000. I swallowed. That's everything I have. He met my eyes. And it was directed into your son's business account. Yes, the reality of it still didn't feel real. My own son, my own money, my own account. Mrs. Mitchell, he continued, have you given your son any formal authority over your finances? No. No power of attorney? He said he had one. Do you remember signing one? I hesitated. I signed something months ago. What kind of document? He told me it was for medical emergencies. Mr. Collins nodded slowly. That's consistent with what we've seen before. What do you mean? In cases like this, documents are often misrepresented. My chest tightened. So he tricked me. I can't say that definitively yet, but it looks that way. Yes. The word landed heavily. Chloe squeezed my hand. I looked at her. She looked scared, but also strong. Stronger than she should have to be at her age. There was a knock on the door. Mr. Collins opened it. One of the officers stepped in. Mrs. Mitchell. Yes. We'd like to ask you a few questions, of course. The officer pulled out a small notebook. Can you confirm that you did not authorize any transfer from your account today? I confirm that. Did you give your son permission to access your online banking? No. Has he ever handled your banking before? Yes. How? He paid bills, checked balances. Did you give him your login information? I hesitated. Yes. Did you ever restrict that access? No. The officer nodded. Thank you. He paused. There's something else we need to ask. What is it? Do you believe your son intended to return the money? The question caught me off guard. I thought about the recording. I'll replace it once the project closes. The confidence in his voice, the assumption, the certainty. I don't know, I said honestly, but he didn't ask. The officer wrote that down. Thank you, Mom. After they left, I sat there in silence. My hands felt cold again, not from fear this time, from something else, something deeper. Betrayal. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. The door opened. Lauren walked in. I froze. Lauren, I said. She looked pale, shaken. What's going on? She asked, her voice trembling. You tell me? I replied. She glanced around the room, then at Chloe, then back at me. I just got a call, she said. They said Ethan was at the bank. He was. What happened? I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I watched her, carefully, looking for something, anything, a reaction, a crack. He tried to transfer my money, I said finally. Her eyes widened. All I said finally. Her eyes widened. All of it, yes. She covered her mouth. Oh my God. The reaction looked real, but something about it didn't sit right with me. You didn't know I asked? No, she said quickly. Nothing of it? Yes. She covered her mouth. Oh my God. The reaction looked real, but something about it didn't sit right with me. You didn't know I asked? No, she said quickly. Nothing. Nothing. I leaned back slightly. Then why do you look like you were expecting something? She hesitated. I wasn't. Lauren. I wasn't. Her voice was too fast, too defensive. Chloe spoke up quietly. Mom. Lauren turned toward her. What Chloe swallowed. I heard you last night. Lauren's face went still. What are you talking about? The argument. What argument? The one about Grandma's money. The room went silent. Lauren's eyes flickered. Just for a second. But I saw it. She knew. You recorded it, Chloe added. Lauren's expression changed completely, from shock to calculation. You recorded us? She asked slowly. I was scared. Lauren looked at me, then back at Chloe, then down at the floor. When she Chloe, then down at the floor? When she spoke again, her voice was different, lower, colder. This is a misunderstanding. No, I said quietly. It's not. She exhaled. You don't understand what Ethan is dealing with. Then explain it. Spoke again, her voice was different, lower, colder. This is a misunderstanding. No, I said quietly. It's not. She exhaled. You don't understand what Ethan is dealing with. Then explain it. It's complicated. I have time. She hesitated again, then said something she shouldn't have. He was going to pay you back. My heart dropped. You knew? She froze. You knew. I thought you knew. The words came out sharper now, stronger. She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. He didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. You don't know what's at stake. Then tell me. She shook her head. I can't, or you won't. She looked away. That was my answer? Chloe stepped closer to me. You said it was our only option, she whispered. Lauren's eyes snapped back to her. Chloe, stop. You said if Grandma didn't help, everything would fall apart. Enough. You said, Chloe. Her voice echoed through the room, sharp, harsh, final. Chloe flinched, and in that moment I saw it clearly. Not just Ethan, Lauren too. They weren't just reacting. They were involved. Together. Planning, deciding. Using me. I think you should leave, I said quietly. Lauren stared at me. You don't mean that? I do. This is still my family. No, I said softly. This is my life. The silence that followed felt different. Final. She didn't argue again. She didn't apologize. She just turned and walked out. And as the door closed behind her, I realized something I had been avoiding since the beginning. This wasn't just one bad decision. It wasn't one desperate moment. It was a plan. A plan that included both of them. And if I hadn't said no at that counter, they would have taken everything and expected me to thank them for it. The bank felt different after Lauren left. Quieter, but not calmer. There was a tension in the air that hadn't been there before. Like everyone understood this situation had just become something bigger. Much bigger. Mr. Collins walked me and Chloe out of his office. "Mrs. Mitchell, we've secured your account for now," he said. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means no transfers can be made without your in-person authorization." I nodded. "Good. We're also going to reset all access credentials." I exhaled. "Yes, please do that." Megan stepped in beside him. "And we'll remove any devices previously linked to your account." I knew what that meant. Ethan, his phone, his computer, all of it. "Thank you," I said again. But even as I said it, I felt something else rising. Anger, not loud, not explosive, but steady, quiet, the kind that builds when the truth finally settles in. I turned to Chloe. "Let's go home." She nodded. But before we could leave, one of the officers approached us again. "Mrs. Mitchell, yes, Detective Brooks would like to speak with you. Now, if you're able." I looked at Chloe, then back at him. "I can." We were led to another small office. A woman in her 40s stood up as we entered. Sharp eyes, calm posture, professional. "Mrs. Mitchell, Detective Angela Brooks." She shook my hand. "Thank you for speaking with me. Of course." She gestured for us to sit. "I specialize in financial exploitation cases." That sentence alone made my stomach tighten. "Cases like mine? Yes." She didn't soften it, didn't avoid it, didn't pretend it was something else. "That's what this is." "Yes." The word landed heavily. Exploitation, not misunderstanding, not family conflict, exploitation. "I need to ask you a few more detailed questions," she continued. "I'll answer whatever I can." She nodded. "Has your son had access to your financial information for an extended period?" "Yes." "How long?" "Months, maybe longer." "Did you give him permission?" "Yes." "Did you limit that permission in any way?" "No." She wrote that down. "Did he ever pressure you to sign documents?" I hesitated. "Yes." "What kind of documents?" "A loan agreement." "Recently." And before that, I took a breath. "He gave me something he said was for medical emergencies. Did you read it?" "No." "Did he explain it fully?" "No." Detective Brooks nodded slowly. "That's important." "Why?" "Because misrepresentation is a key factor in these cases." I looked at her. "You've seen this before?" "More times than I'd like to admit." My chest tightened. "By family, most often. That hurt more than anything else." She continued. "Do you know the financial condition of your son's business?" "No." "Did he ever discuss financial difficulties with you?" "Not directly. But you suspect something." I thought about the envelope, the calls, the stress. "Yes. What makes you say that he mentioned investors? The ad lines. And I saw a final notice. But you suspect something?" I thought about the envelope, the calls, the stress. "Yes." "What makes you say that?" "He mentioned investors, deadlines. And I saw a final notice letter." She wrote quickly. "That aligns with what we're already seeing." "What do you mean?" She looked up. "Your son's company is currently under financial pressure." "How bad?" "Significant." My stomach dropped. "Can you be more specific?" She paused. "Multiple complaints. Unpaid contractors, missing deposits." The words hit one by one. "Missing deposits?" "Yes." "What does that mean?" "It means money that should be there isn't." I felt cold again. So he needed my money to cover that. That's one possibility. I thought about the recording again. "He'll replace the money once the project closes." You're saying he was trying to fix something? "Yes, at my expense." She didn't soften it. Yes. Chloe shifted beside me. Is Dad in trouble? She asked quietly. Detective Brooks looked at her gently. Your dad is being questioned. Is he going to jail? That depends on what we find. Chloe looked down. I squeezed her hand. Detective Brooks turned back to me. There's something else you need to understand. What is it? This wasn't a one-time decision. I know. This kind of behavior usually escalates. I swallowed. You mean it could have gotten worse? Yes. How much worse? She didn't answer right away. Mrs. Mitchell, have you checked your other documents recently? What do you mean? Property records, insurance, legal documents? No. You should. Why? Because financial exploitation often expands beyond bank accounts. My heart started pounding again. You think he took more than money? I think we need to verify. The room suddenly felt smaller, tighter. What should I do? We'll help you review everything. I nodded slowly. Then something else hit me, a question I hadn't asked yet. Detective? Yes? What happens now? She looked at me carefully. Now we investigate. And Ethan? He's part of that investigation. I took a deep breath. And Lauren? Her eyes sharpened slightly. She may be as well. I thought about Lauren's reaction. The slip. He was going to pay you back. She knew I said quietly. Yes, Detective Brooks replied. I think she did. Silence filled the room again. But this time, it wasn't confusion. It was clarity. Painful clarity. I wasn't dealing with one person's mistake. I was dealing with a situation that had been building for a long time, and I had been standing right in the middle of it without seeing it. Detective Brooks stood up. We'll be in touch very soon. Thank you. As we walked out of the office, Chloe held my hand tighter. Grandma, yes. Are we okay? I looked down at her worried face, her trembling voice, and I realized something important. We will be, I said. And for the first time since this all started, I believed it, because the truth was finally out. And no matter how painful that truth was, it meant one thing. They couldn't hide anymore. By the time Chloe and I got home, the house didn't feel the same. It looked the same. The same front porch. The same maple tree Thomas and I planted. The same kitchen where I had baked cookies with Chloe just days earlier. But something had shifted. Something invisible. Something permanent. Do you want some tea? I asked. Chloe nodded quietly. I moved through the kitchen slowly, almost carefully, as if the space itself might break if I moved too fast. I filled the kettle, set it on the stove, waited. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy. Grandma Chloe said softly, Yes. Are you mad at Dad? I paused, then answered honestly, I'm hurt. She nodded. I think I am too. I turned to her. You don't have to choose sides, I know, but it feels like I have to. I walked over and sat beside her. You don't, but he's my dad, and am your grandmother. She looked at me. I don't want to lose either of you. That sentence broke something inside me. You won't lose me? I said gently. She leaned into me. And your dad, he made some choices. Bad ones. Yes. Really bad ones. I nodded. But that doesn't mean you stop loving him. She wiped her eyes. Do you still love him? The question caught me off guard. Ethan, my son, the boy I raised, the man who just tried to take everything from me? Yes, I said quietly. I do. Chloe looked surprised. How I took a breath. Because love doesn't disappear just because someone does something wrong. Then why didn't you help him? That question hurt more than anything else. Because for most of my life, I would have. Because helping him this time would have meant hurting myself. She thought about that, then nodded slowly. I think I understand. The kettle began to whistle. I stood up and poured the tea. We sat together in silence for a while. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? Mrs. Mitchell, this is Detective Brooks. Yes. I wanted to follow up with you. Of course. Are you home? Yes. I'd like to come by and go over a few things if that's all right. I glanced at Chloe. It's fine. I'll be there in about 30 minutes. Okay. After I hung up, I felt that same tension again. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was anticipation. Like I knew something important was coming. 30 minutes later, Detective Brooks arrived. She stepped inside, taking in the room quickly. Nice home, she said. Thank you. We sat at the kitchen table. Chloe stayed nearby. I'm going to be direct, Detective Brooks said. I appreciate that. We've started looking into your son's financial records, and there are multiple irregularities. My stomach tightened. What kind? Unaccounted funds? Delayed payments? Missing deposits? The same words she had used earlier, but now they felt heavier, more real. How much money are we talking about? She paused. Possibly hundreds of thousands. I felt my breath catch. Hundreds of thousands. Yes, I shook my head slowly. That doesn't make sense. It does if the business has been struggling longer than you realized. I thought about the phone calls, these TRS, the envelope. He never told me. I shook my head slowly. That doesn't make sense. It does if the business has been struggling longer than you realized. I thought about the phone calls, the stress, the envelope. He never told me. They rarely do. I looked down at my hands. So, he was trying to use my money to cover it. That appears to be the case. And Lauren? She's connected in what way we're still confirming details. But she knew. Yes. That answer didn't surprise me anymore. It just settled something, a truth I had already begun to accept. There's something else, Detective Brooks said. What we need to check your home. I looked up. Why? For missing documents. My heart started racing again. What documents? Anything related to your identity, your property, your finances. I haven't noticed anything missing. Let's verify that. I nodded slowly. We walked to my bedroom, then to my office, the small room where I kept my important papers, my desk, my locked drawer. I felt a sudden sense of dread. I reached for the key, opened the drawer, and froze. It looked wrong, subtle, but wrong. Something's missing, I whispered. What do you keep here? Detective Brooks asked. My property deed? Is it there? I searched quickly. No. What else? My social security documents. Check. I searched again. Gone. My hands started shaking. Thomas's life insurance papers, I flipped through the folders. They weren't there. They're gone, I said. All of them. Chloe stepped closer. Grandma. I felt like the ground had dropped beneath me. He took them, I whispered. Detective Brooks nodded. That's likely. They weren't there. They're gone, I said. All of them. Chloe stepped closer. Grandma? I felt like the ground had dropped beneath me. He took them, I whispered. Detective Brooks nodded. That's likely. Why would he need those for control? What kind of control? Financial? Legal? I sat down slowly. He wasn't just trying to take my money. No, he was taking everything. She didn't correct me, because she didn't need to. The truth was already clear. The bank account was just the beginning. My identity, my property, My security? All of it had been at risk, and I hadn't even known. I looked around the room, at the desk, at the empty drawer, at the life I thought I understood, and for the first time, I saw how close I had come to losing all of it. Not to a stranger, not to a scam, but to my own son. "I need to ask you something," Detective Brooks said. "What if he contacts you? What will you do?" I thought about that, about Ethan's voice. "Mom, please," about the years of trust, the years of love, the years of sacrifice. Then I answered, "I'll tell the truth." She nodded. "That's the most important thing you can do." As she stood to leave, Chloe slipped her hand into mine again. And this time, I held it tighter. Because now, I understood something I hadn't before. This wasn't just about what Ethan had done. It was about what I had to do next. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of that. That night, I didn't sleep. Not even for a minute. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the empty drawer, the missing documents, the realization that my life, everything I had built over decades, had been quietly taken apart piece by piece. Not by a stranger, by my own son. Chloe slept in the guest room. I checked on her twice. Each time she looked so peaceful. Too peaceful for everything that had just happened. I envied that. By morning, I had already made a decision. I wasn't going to wait for answers. I needed to know everything. At exactly 9:15 a.m., to know everything. At exactly 9:15 a.m., Detective Brooks called. "Mrs. Mitchell, we have an update." My heart tightened. What kind of update? We've identified a location connected to the missing documents. Where Detective Brooks called. "Mrs. Mitchell, we have an update." My heart tightened. What kind of update? We've identified a location connected to the missing documents. Where a safe deposit box. I froze. A safe deposit box? Yes. In whose name? She paused. Your daughter-in-law's. Lauren. Of course. When can we access it? I asked. We're obtaining a warrant now. I want to be there. There was a brief silence. Are you sure? Yes. All right. I'll let you know when we're ready. 2 hours later, I was standing inside another bank. Not mine. A different one. Colder. Less familiar. More official. Chloe stayed home with Susan. This wasn't something she needed to see. Detective Brooks met me at the entrance. You don't have to come inside, she said. I want to. She studied my face for a moment, then nodded. All right. We walked into a secured area. A bank employee led us down a narrow hallway. At the end, there was a heavy metal door, the kind you only see in movies. It opened slowly. Inside, rows of small metal boxes lined the walls. Each one locked. Each one holding someone's secrets. The employee stopped at one box. This is the one, she said. Detective Brooks stepped forward. She unlocked it, then carefully pulled it out. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. This is it, she said quietly. She placed the box on a small table, then opened it, and everything inside my chest dropped. Documents, stacks of them, neatly organized, carefully placed. Like someone had planned this, like someone had prepared. These are yours, she said, pulling out the first folder. My property deed. I recognized it immediately. That's my house? She nodded. Next, my social security documents. Next, Thomas's life insurance records. Next, bank information, account numbers, copies of my ID, even documents I didn't remember seeing before. What is this? I asked. She handed me a paper. I read the title, Power of Attorney, my name at the top, Ethan's name listed as the agent, my signature at the bottom. But something was wrong. That's not my signature, I said immediately. It looks like it. It's not. I pointed to it. The H is different. I always curve it more. Detective Brooks nodded. Well, have it analyzed. I looked at the rest of the document. Everything else looked official, legal, dangerous. If this had gone through, I whispered. Yes, she said. He would have had full control over everything. My money, my house, my decisions, my life. I felt a wave of nausea. He was trying to take everything. Yes. And Lauren helped him. Yes. The word didn't shock me anymore. It just confirmed what I already knew. Detective Brooks continued going through the box. Then she paused. There's something else. What? She pulled out another document. I took it from her, and my hands started shaking. What is it? She asked. I couldn't answer right away, because I was trying to understand what I was looking at. This can't be right. What is it? I looked up at her. It's a life insurance policy? In your name? Yes. Is that unusual? No. I swallowed hard. What's unusual is the beneficiary. She waited. It's not Chloe. Who is it? It's a trust. What kind of trust? I scanned the document again. Then I found it, controlled by Ethan. The silence that followed was suffocating. Did you authorize this policy? She asked. No. Did you know about it? No. She took the document from me. This is serious. I know. No, she said firmly. You don't. I looked at her. What do you mean? This suggests long-term financial planning. My stomach dropped. What kind of planning? She met my eyes. The kind that considers future outcomes. I understood immediately, too clearly. You're saying saying they weren't just thinking about your money now? My hands started shaking again. They were thinking about after I die. She didn't answer, because she didn't need to. The answer was already there. In the document. In the trust. In the plan. I sat down slowly. My legs couldn't hold me anymore. They planned for my death. Mrs. Mitchell? They planned for my death. The words felt unreal, like they belonged to someone else's story. Not mine, not my life, not my family. But they were real, every part of it. I looked down at the box, at the papers, at the evidence, and I realized something that broke me more than anything else. This wasn't desperation. This wasn't panic. This wasn't a last-minute decision. This was planned, organized, calculated. They didn't just want my money. They built a future around having it. Even if that future meant I wasn't there anymore. Tears finally came. Slow, quiet, unstoppable. I raised him, I whispered. I know. I gave him everything. I know. And this is what he did. Detective Brooks didn't try to comfort me. She didn't offer empty words. She just stood there, present, steady, real, and somehow, that helped more than anything else. After a few minutes, I wiped my tears. Then I looked up at her. What happens now? She closed the box. Now we make sure they answer for all of it. I nodded slowly. For the first time, I didn't feel weak. I didn't feel confused. I didn't feel guilty. I felt something else. Something stronger. Resolve. Because whatever happened next, I wasn't going to look away again. The months that followed felt like a long, slow unraveling. Not just of the case, but of everything I thought I knew about my life. The investigation moved quickly at first, then slowly, then all at once again. By the time the first court hearing arrived, I had already answered the same questions dozens of times. But walking into that courtroom, that was different. That was real. Chloe sat beside me holding my hand. She had insisted on coming. I need to see this through, she said. I didn't argue, because I understood. We both needed to face it, together. When Ethan was brought into the courtroom, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked smaller, not physically, but something about him had changed. The confidence, the certainty, the control. It was gone. He glanced at me once, just once, then looked away. Lauren sat at the defense table, perfectly dressed, composed, but I could see it. The tension behind her eyes, the calculation, the fear she was trying to hide. The judge called the session to order. The attorneys began. Ethan's lawyer spoke first. My client was under extreme financial pressure. Lauren's attorney followed. My client acted under the direction of her husband. I sat there listening, and something strange happened. They weren't defending them. They were separating them, piece by piece. Ethan blamed Lauren. Lauren blamed Ethan. Each one trying to step away from the other, trying to survive. I felt something inside me shift again. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. They had stood together when they planned this, but now they stood alone. When it was my turn to testify, my hands were steady. Surprisingly steady. Please state your name, the prosecutor said. Heather Mitchell. Mrs. Mitchell, can you describe your relationship with the defendant? I looked at Ethan, then answered. He's my son, and did you authorize him to transfer funds from your account? No. Did you give him permission to access your finances? Yes, but not to control them. Correct. Did you knowingly sign any document granting him power of attorney? No. The prosecutor held up a copy of the document. Is this your copy? No, I don't have a copy. I was just looking at it PI of the document. Is this your signature? I looked at it, then shook my head. No. Can you explain why it looks like mine? But it's not. How can you tell I've signed my name thousands of times? I pointed to the paper. This isn't how I write my H. The courtroom was silent. And did you ever discuss transferring your retirement savings to your son's business? No. Did he ask? No. Did he inform you after attempting the transfer? No. The prosecutor nodded. No further questions. Ethan's lawyer stood. Mrs. Mitchell, you love your son, correct? Yes. You've helped him financially in the past. Yes. So it wouldn't be unusual for you to help him again. Not if he asked, but he believed you would help. That doesn't give him permission to take. The lawyer paused. Do you believe your son intended to harm you? I thought about that. Longer than expected. Then answered honestly. I think he stopped thinking about me. That answer seemed to land harder than anything else. Lauren's attorney approached next. Mrs. Mitchell, do you believe my client influenced your son's decisions? I looked at Lauren. She met my eyes this time. For the first time? No, I said. The attorney looked surprised. No. Why not? Because my son made his own choices. Lauren's expression shifted. Subtle. But I saw it. That answer mattered. The prosecutor called Chloe next. I didn't want her to testify. But she insisted. She walked to the stand, small but strong. Can you tell the court what you heard the night before the bank incident? The prosecutor asked. Chloe took a breath. I heard my parents arguing. About what? About my grandma's money. And what did they say? She repeated parts of the recording. Clear, steady, brave. I felt tears fill my eyes, not from sadness, from pride. After her testimony, Ethan finally broke, not loudly, not dramatically, but visibly. His shoulders dropped, his eyes filled. And for the first time since all of this started, he looked like my son again, not the man in control, not the one making decisions, just a man who had made a mistake, a very big one. After the session ended, Ethan asked to speak with me. The officers allowed it, briefly, supervised. We stood in a quiet hallway, just the two of us. Mom. His voice was soft, fragile. I'm sorry. I didn't answer right away. I never wanted this to happen. But it did. I thought I could fix it. By taking from me, I was going to pay you back. That doesn't change what you did. He looked down. I know. Silence stretched between us. I need you to understand something, he said finally. What I didn't plan to hurt you? I looked at him. You planned everything else. He closed his eyes. I was desperate. And you chose me. I need you to understand something, he said finally. What I didn't plan to hurt you. I looked at him. You planned everything else. He closed his eyes. I was desperate. And you chose me. I didn't think that's the problem. He nodded slowly. You're right. Another silence. Then he said something I didn't expect. I'm going to plead guilty. I felt my breath catch. What, I can't keep fighting this. And Lauren. He hesitated. She's trying to put it all on me. I wasn't surprised. What will you do? I'm going to tell the truth. I studied his face. For the first time, it felt real. Not manipulation. Not pressure. Just truth. I hope you do, I said. He looked at me. Do you hate me? The question hit harder than anything else. No, I said quietly. I don't. Then why does it feel like you've given up on me? I took a breath. I haven't given up on you. Then what is this? This is you facing what you did. His eyes filled again. I don't know if I can fix this. You can't fix it, I said gently, but you can be honest about it. He nodded slowly, and in that moment, I realized something important. This wasn't about punishment. It wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. And for the first time, Ethan was finally willing to face it. The sentencing day arrived faster than I expected, and slower than I wanted. Time had a strange way of stretching during those weeks. Every day felt heavy, but every step forward felt necessary. Chloe sat beside me again in the courtroom. This time, she didn't look as scared. She looked older, stronger, like something inside her had changed. Something permanent. When Ethan was brought in, he didn't look away from me this time. He nodded, just once, and I nodded back. Lauren walked in separately, still composed, still controlled, but I could see it now, the cracks, the tension she could no longer hide. The judge began reading the findings, each charge, each detail, each decision. Every word felt final. Ethan had pleaded guilty. Lauren had not. She had fought until the end, but the evidence had been too strong. The documents, the transfers, the recording, the safe deposit box, all of it. The judge's voice was steady, clear, unemotional, but every word carried weight. Mr. Mitchell, Ethan stood. You are hereby sentenced. I held my breath. To a term of incarceration, Chloe's hand tightened around mine. Along with financial restitution, Ethan nodded. He didn't argue, didn't react, just accepted it. Then the judge turned to Lauren. Mrs. Mitchell. She stood. Her expression didn't change. You are found guilty. The list of charges continued, longer, more detailed, more severe. Her role had been clear: organizing, coordinating, planning, the forged documents, the notary payments, the safe deposit box, even the attempted escape. You are sentenced to a longer term. Lauren's face finally changed. Just slightly, but enough. Enough to see the reality settle in. The control was gone. Completely. After the sentencing, the courtroom emptied slowly. People whispered, moved, left. But I stayed seated. Chloe stayed with me. "Is it over?" she asked quietly. I looked around, at the empty chairs, at the silent room, at the place where everything had just been decided. "It's over," I said. But even as I said it, I knew that wasn't entirely true. Because some things don't end when the verdict is read. They just change. Outside the courtroom, Megan was waiting. I hadn't expected that, but there she was, smiling gently. "Mrs. Mitchell." "Megan." I walked toward her. "I wanted to check on you," she said. "I'm okay." "You look stronger." I smiled faintly. "I feel stronger." She nodded. "I'm glad." I looked at her. "You saved me." She shook her head. "No." "You did?" "No," she said again. "I just paid attention. I thought about that, about how close everything had come to being gone. Because I didn't pay attention. Because I trusted without question. Because I didn't look closely enough." "You gave me a chance to speak," I said. "That's all that matters." She smiled. "And you used it." Chloe stepped forward. "Thank you," she said softly. Megan smiled at her. "You're very brave." Chloe shook her head. I was scared. "You can be both." That seemed to stay with Chloe. I could see it in her face. We said goodbye, then walked out into the sunlight. For the first time in weeks, it felt different. Lighter. Not because everything was fixed, but because everything was clear. Over the next few months, I started rebuilding. Not just my finances, but my life. The bank helped secure my accounts. Every password was changed. Every access point reset. Every document verified. I worked with a financial advisor, not family, not someone connected to anyone I knew. Someone independent. Someone accountable. I sold my house. That decision surprised everyone, including me. But I didn't do it because I had to. I did it because I chose to. That house held too many memories. Good ones. But also now, painful ones. I moved into a smaller home, closer to Chloe's school, closer to a new beginning. The money from the sale went into a protected trust, managed by professionals, not by family, not by emotion, by structure, by rules, by protection. Chloe moved in with me full time, at least for now. She needed stability, and I needed her. We built new routines, new habits, new memories. Sometimes at night I still thought about Ethan, about where he was, what he was thinking, whether he understood what he had done. He started writing letters. At first, they were short, defensive, full of explanations. Then slowly, they changed. Longer, quieter, more honest. He stopped blaming Lauren, stopped blaming the business, stopped blaming everything except himself. One letter stayed with me. "I thought you would always fix things for me. I didn't realize that meant I stopped fixing them myself." I read that sentence more than once, because it was true. Painfully true. And it wasn't just his truth. It was mine too. I had spent years protecting him, helping him, saving him, and somewhere along the way he learned that he didn't have to face consequences. Until now. I visited him once, just once. We sat across from each other in a small room. No barriers, no anger, just distance. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said. "I know. I just wanted you to hear it from me. I hear you. We didn't talk about the case. We didn't talk about the details. We talked about something else. Responsibility. Truth. Time. When I left, I didn't feel closure. But I felt something close to it. understanding, and that was enough. On the anniversary of that day at the bank, I went back, not to relive it, but to remember it. I stood at the counter where everything changed, where my son reached for my card, where Megan pulled it back, where I found my voice again. And I realized something. That moment didn't just stop a transaction. It stopped a pattern. A lifetime of saying yes when I should have asked questions. A lifetime of trusting without boundaries. A lifetime of believing love meant sacrifice without limits. Now a lifetime of saying yes when I should have asked questions. A lifetime of trusting without boundaries. A lifetime of believing love meant sacrifice without limits. Now, I understood better, and I wasn't going back. 2 years later, my life looks nothing like it did the day I stood at that bank counter. And in ways I never expected. That's a good thing. I wake up every morning in a smaller house. Quieter, simpler, but safer. There's something peaceful about knowing exactly where everything stands. No hidden documents. No unanswered questions. No one speaking over me. Just clarity. Chloe is in her final year of high school now. She's taller, stronger, more confident, but still the same girl who used to steal chocolate chips from my mixing bowl. Only now she doesn't ask for permission to speak, and I make sure no one ever takes that voice away from her. "Grandma, you're late," she calls from the kitchen. "I'm coming," I reply, smiling. We still bake together, every Friday. That hasn't changed. But now our conversations are different, deeper, more honest. She asks questions, real ones. "Do you ever think about him?" she asked me one evening. I knew who she meant. "Ethan." "Yes," I said. "Every day, not every day, but often." She nodded. "I think about him too." "That's okay. I miss him." "I know." She looked down at the dough. "Is that wrong?" I shook my head. "No, but after everything he did, love doesn't turn off just because someone made a terrible decision." She thought about that, then asked quietly, "Do you still love him?" "Yes." The answer came faster now, clearer, stronger. "I do." She nodded slowly. "Me too." We didn't say anything else for a while. We didn't need to, because some truths don't need explanation. They just exist. Chloe started volunteering last year, at a community center, helping older adults understand financial safety, how to avoid scams, how to protect their information, how to ask questions. The first time she asked me to come speak with her group, I hesitated. "I don't know if I'm ready," I told her. "You are," she said gently. "What if I say something wrong? You won't. What if I get emotional?" "That's okay." She smiled. They need to hear the truth. So I went. I stood in front of a room full of people my age, and I told them my story. Not all at once, not dramatically, just honestly. "I trusted someone I loved," I said, "and I didn't ask enough questions." The room was silent, but I could see it in their faces. Recognition, fear, understanding. Afterward, one woman came up to me. "My son handles my accounts," she said quietly. I looked at her. "Then make sure you can still see them yourself." She nodded. I never thought about that. Start now. That moment stayed with me, because I realized something important. My story wasn't just about what happened to me. It was about what could happen to anyone, and what could be happen to anyone, and what could be prevented if someone just paid attention. Ethan still writes. His letters are different now. No excuses, no explanations, just truth. I'm learning what responsibility really means. I'm learning what I should have learned years ago. Ented, if someone just paid attention. Ethan still writes. His letters are different now. No excuses, no explanations, just truth. I'm learning what responsibility really means. I'm learning what I should have learned years ago. I'm sorry. I believe him. Not because of the words, but because of the way they've changed. Slowly, over time. I visit him once a year. Not often, not out of obligation, but because I choose to. The first visit was the hardest. We sat across from each other again, like before, but this time, there was no tension, no argument, just honesty. I don't expect you to trust me again, he said. I know. I just want the chance to become someone who deserves it. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time in a long time, I saw something real. Growth, pain, awareness. That will take time, I said. I understand, and it won't come from words, I know. It will come from what you do. He nodded. I'm ready for that. I believed him, not completely, not blindly, but enough. Enough to see the possibility, and that was all I could offer. When I left that day, I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel betrayed. I felt balanced, like I had found a place between love and boundaries, between forgiveness and accountability, and that place. That's where I live now. On the second anniversary of the bank incident, I went back again. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted to. Megan was still there. She smiled when she saw me. Mrs. Mitchell. Megan. We stood at the same counter. The same spot. Do you ever think about that day? I asked. Sometimes, she said. I think about it all the time. She smiled softly, not because of what almost happened, but because of what did happen. She tilted her head. What do you mean that was the day I stopped being quiet? She nodded. That matters. It does. I looked down at the counter. At the place where my son reached for my card. At the place where she pulled it back. At the moment everything changed. I thought you saved me, I said. She shook her head again. No. I smiled. I know. I saved myself, and that truth felt stronger than anything else in my life. Because in the end, it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the documents. It wasn't even about the betrayal. It was about something much simpler and much harder. Learning that love doesn't mean losing yourself. And once you learn that no one can take it from you again, after everything I've shared, I want to leave you with something deeper than just a story. Because this wasn't only about money. It was about trust. It was about love. And it was about the quiet ways we sometimes lose ourselves without realizing it. When someone we love crosses a line, especially our own child, the pain is different. It's not just betrayal. It's confusion. You question your memory, your judgment, even your worth. You start asking yourself, did I miss something? Or worse, is this somehow my fault? But here's the truth I had to learn the hard way. Trust should never require silence. Love should never require surrender. And help should never mean losing control over your own life. I thought being a good mother meant always saying yes, always supporting, always stepping in when things fell apart. But what I learned is this: when we protect someone from consequences over and over again, we don't save them. We teach them they don't have to change. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to stop protecting them. Forgiveness and accountability can exist at the same time. I still love my son, but I also told the truth. I still care about him, but I no longer give him control over my life. That balance didn't come easily, but it gave me something I didn't even realize I had lost. My voice. If you take anything from my story, let it be this: ask questions. Read what you sign. Stay involved in your own finances, no matter your age. And never feel guilty for protecting yourself, even from the people you love. Because your life, your choices, and your voice, they belong to you. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my place? Do you think I made the right decision by telling the truth, even if it meant my son would face consequences? And do you believe trust can ever truly be rebuilt after something like this? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and your stories mean more than you know. If this story touched you or made you think differently about family trust or boundaries, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. You're not alone in what you've been through. And sometimes, hearing one story can help someone find the strength to face their own.